to the cloud. I'll turn that on now. So if you're just joining us, welcome. This is the Peace to the Polls Democracy Vigil hosted by the Peace Alliance. The Peace Alliance's mission is to educate, advocate, and mobilize people into action to transform systems and public policy toward a culture of peace. Today was designed to be a place of hope and sustenance while we await the election results. And we've been talking about some of them already as they start to trickle in, and celebrate the participation in our democracy. So I'm really excited about our next speakers because they are the foundation. We were talking about building a house earlier, building an infrastructure, and these guys are the foundation of that. So today's vigil has been focused on three themes. One was depolarizing dialogues. We talked a little about how to have some difficult conversations, specifically around politics, but it also, kind of generalized across the board. The work that continues no matter who wins tonight. So as we start to see the results trickle in and we start to think about how that's going to impact our state and our country, we start to think about what's next on that scale. And then we've had several folks throughout the day come in to offer personal peace practices. We've had some meditation. We've had some amazing singing. We've had a peace ceremony where we spoke peace into the major regions of the world and then into every state of this union. That was really incredible with Jennifer and Master Kim. So our final speakers of the day are, as I mentioned, 3 high school students who are members of a nationwide organization called the Junior State of America. I had never heard of this organization before, but I was having a conversation with one of the young men's mom, Amina, who has been in and out of the room tonight and has been offering some wisdom. So these 3 young men serve in leadership roles within their chapter, and their topic that they chose is fighting political apathy in the youth. And so I wanted to introduce these 3 impressive students, and then I want to hear from them, and we want to hear from them about the Junior State of America, how they got involved, what is the experience like for them, and maybe how it's impacted what kind of civic participants they're going to be as they move into their adulthood and beyond into the realm. So our first speaker is Abraham. He's a sophomore at Dublin High School, and he's the chapter president of the high school chapter of the Junior State of America there. As well, he serves as a senator for the East Bay region. He's been running the Dublin chapter of the JSA since the beginning of his freshman year at high school, and it's been an amazing experience for both him and his club members. He says that JSA has taught him many important skills, from empathizing with others with different opinions to engaging in political discussion in order to spread awareness about issues affecting youth and society at large. Besides school and JSA, he also practices Kung Fu, he lifts weights, plays piano, and other hobbies in his free time. So Abraham, if you could wave your hand and let everybody know. There he is. Oh, he's with Amina. So y'all are sharing a screen. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
His PC wasn't working, so he just joined my room.
Oh, computer fail. Well, thank you both for being here. Abraham's brother, it's a birthday today, and so we really appreciate you all being here.
It's a pleasure.
Kashyap is a sophomore. Did I pronounce your name correct?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, great, awesome. He is a sophomore at Dublin High School. You can wave your hand and let us know where you are. He's also the vice president of their JSA chapter. He joined the JSA because it allows him to engage in political discussions about topics that are relevant to our world. He believes the JSA teaches important skills that encourage all students to become excellent civic participants. In addition to politics and law, he is also passionate about music and has played the piano for 8 years. And our last participant is, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, Jayanth. Did I say it correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, good, yay. 3 for 3. Served as chapter treasurer and sophomore, and he's a sophomore at Dublin High School. He loves to participate in politics and enjoys coding. He likes to hang out with his friends and have a good time, and he plays the guitar and participates in karate. So welcome to our 3 JSA members. And I have been kind of talking about you guys being with us. You are our last official speakers for the evening. And really, dare I say, the most important speakers of the evening, really. Because
sorry, Deanne, just quickly wanted to mention, we also have a 4th member of the GSA team joining us as well, Vignesh. So I just want Vignesh, if you just want to wave your hand.
Oh, thank you, Amina. Thank you for stopping me. Welcome, Vignesh. I'm so glad you're here. Yay, more the merrier for sure. So yeah, so I just really, I feel like you guys maybe are the most important speakers that we've had all day, because you are the future. You guys are the ones that are going to be carrying on to this as the rest of us, go by the way of the hemlocks. And that's an inside story to all of the folks here that were here before you all came in. So I just want to say thank you for being with us tonight. And I really just want to open the floor. We want to hear what you guys have to say. I'd love to hear your experiences with JSA, how you found out about it, what led you to get involved, and really I'd love to hear how the structure of the organization is and what kinds of things it teaches you guys as you are members. So I will give the floor to you all.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to go over like our experience with JSA and kind of how it's affected us. So starting off, despite having been interested in political discussion for quite a long time, I never really discussed politics or my opinions very much until I started JSA. When I first got into JSA last year, I was mostly because my brother did it before me. However, as I got more into it, I realized the true value of having a place solely meant to facilitate political discourse. Every meeting, we would simply pick a topic and discuss it, whether it be Russia, Ukraine, gun rights, abortion, or any other issue. Many ideas and topics that I thought about day in and day out were finally being discussed with others, things that I never really talked about with others until then. I was enlightened by many different worldviews of others and improved my political ideas improved exponentially because of it. I learned how to empathize with others and understand their ideas on a level I never had before, while also having a strong conviction and confidence in my own ideas at the same time. This year, our club grew by almost 20 people, and consequently, the diversity of our ideas present at our meetings increased exponentially, which just gave us and everyone there even more chance to grow in terms of our political ideas and the discourse that we could partake in. I feel that one of the biggest issues that I've noticed, especially among teens, is that a lot of us simply don't like discussing politics. And I think it's understandable. I mean, politics can often be dirty, it can be depressing. Sometimes it just doesn't feel fun to discuss politics. It's almost seen as like a stigma to care about politics or civics, like you're spoiling the fun somehow. However, I think it's really important for us to discuss it, especially at the age we're at now. If we don't get comfortable discussing our differing ideas at this age and getting involved in politics, then we'll never be able to do so when you grow up. So that's the real significance of JSA to me. It's a place where students get to have political discussion when they otherwise wouldn't be able to, a place where students can grow as future citizens of democracy.
Yeah, so I'm going to take over from that. So before I joined JSA, I really only had a general idea of politics, and I was never really considering getting involved in any level of politics. And that all really changed when I attended the first convention, and that was winter of last year, 2021. And until then, all the political opinions I had were really just based on my side of the argument. And I might have known other arguments existed, but until JSA, I didn't really have the chance to understand that unique perspective that everyone else had, because now I wasn't just reading someone else's stance. I was hearing it from them. I was interpreting it, questioning it, countering it. And I think that's what makes JSA important, that that it provides you that opportunity for any high school student to build a skill to learn about politics, but also to use those skills to make an impact in your community. And there's so many people today who are like refraining from politics, and that's including adults and even eligible voters who don't vote. And the next generation of Americans is where we need to start making that change. So I think our society needs to abandon this belief that the average person can't or like shouldn't get involved in politics. And this change needs to start at the student level, which I think is what JSA does. And I think it's a huge part of that because every year it's bringing together thousands of people across the nation, thousands of high school children, and it's getting them involved in politics.
So yeah, I'm Jayanth. So basically like the description of the other two, I actually had really no interest in politics in the beginning. I really didn't even know a lot about politics, but I had a lot of political opinions, a lot of stuff I wanted to share. And when Abraham was like making a chapter, I was the first one to join. I was really excited to be able to have a way to convey my opinions, political opinions with a whole group. And that really like gave me a sense of power. Like I can actually make a change in my community. Even me and him were discussing about making recycling bins all around Dublin High School. And he's still in the process of doing that right now. And we're even close to making some changes. And at least in local politics or politics in general, us residents do not understand how much of a change we can really make. Like we have the power to make a ton of changes in our community. And with GSA, it has really helped me realize the amount of opportunities we really have. And yeah, that's what GSA introduced for me. And it also introduced meeting a lot of new people and a lot of new perspectives. And in one of the conventions, they had a really good example. One of the speakers had an apple, and one side of the apple was rotten and the other side was clean. And like she described how some people are looking from the apple from the rotten side and not the whole part of the apple. And like other people have different perspectives, and some part of it could be good, some part of it could be bad. And that really taught me that like there's a lot of different opinions, and valuing the opinions, questioning the opinions, and accepting the opinions, and looking at it from all angles is really important. So that's really what JSA has taught me and really helped me conquer political apathy and make a change.
Hello, my name is Vignesh, and so, same story for me. About a year ago, I had like very little political knowledge, and I didn't really care about learning about topics related to like politics. However, after like joining JSA, that changed. Much like my friends here, after joining this club, I realized that there was so much more to this country that I had previously thought was true. I went to my first JSA convention last year, and I learned so much about the political scene in America and eventually developed my own opinions on the topic as well. I was exposed to hundreds of people who thought differently than me, and this opened up opportunities for me to expand and build onto my existing knowledge. It is incredibly important that more people seek out ways to educate themselves on politics because whether you like it or not, the more that people get involved in this sort of thing, the more the general public will get to live an improved life in our society. And I've seen that people often don't think that their voice matters when compared to the millions of other people in our country. However, your opinion does matter. With the increasing importance of social media platforms making it easier for people's voices to be heard, now more than ever, we should be using these platforms to make a change in the country that we live in. We are a community, and every one of us individually can make a significant impact on this country and change it for the better. And the first step in doing that is by getting involved. Students and adults alike can and should start getting familiar with political discussion so that we can improve our lives and the lives of the people that come after us. Thank you.
Thank you all. That's very inspiring. I'm curious about, I think I've heard a couple of you mention about the conventions. So I'm curious are the conventions places where you come together? I thought I understood that there was a component to the JSA that where you all actually hold office as if you were in the American government. Could you speak a little bit to that? And is that where does that come into play only at the conventions, or is that something that you all do within your chapter on the regular?
Yeah, so basically convention, we have it 3 times a year. So 2 of those a year, fall state and spring state, they're mainly just speech and debate. We have like different topics that we choose and then we argue pro or con. With winter state specifically, it's like a mock Congress. So we'll have people like propose bills, and then we have like students, they invite people from all across Northern California, basically. It's like over 100 students, 150 students, basically, and they'll speak pro or con for the bill that they wrote. And then you can have students, jump in and have subsequent speeches, and then they'll vote. So it's a good experience to like not only know how like the US government works, but also to speak and like express political ideas and things like that. In terms of holding office, there are positions, it's called cabinet. So JSA is a student-run org. So basically what these cabinet members do, there's different positions from like regional officials. Like for example, I'm a senator for East Bay region. So I help run like East Bay region specific like events and like things like my Senate project, which like Jayanth mentioned earlier with the recycling bins on my campus. But there's also like many other positions in cabinet like agents, like Jayanth's a CIA agent. So he messages chapter presidents and coordinates like so that they can make like convention deadlines. So there's many different positions in cabinet, but it's to get people to like be able to like involve themselves in the student-run org, and also again to like familiarize them with like US government and that type of thing.
Awesome. I'm curious about, and then I'll just one more question, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the group and see if anyone else has a question. But I'm curious if you all ever have, I imagine that you learned a lot about how the government works in this country as it stands right now. I'm curious if you guys ever have any kind of brainstorming or any conversations about what you see from your perspective that could change and should change in the way our current political space works. Because as we've been talking about all day, that really the first step in manifesting change is to be able to dream about how things could be different. So I'm curious if you all just learn about how the government works, or if you actually have some dialogue around what could change in it to make it better. And it's open to any of you that might want to offer.
Yeah, we absolutely like discuss about not just like what's wrong with our government or like what could be improved, but also what changes we could implement. And so every meeting, we always have discussions about like, for example, just like a couple meetings ago, we talked about why does our government have a two-party system when there could be like multiple party options, and that's really like limiting the number of political candidates that people have to vote for. And so we definitely at conventions and at our local chapter meetings, we're always like talking about ways that we could improve society and not just what is wrong with our society.
And to add on to that, just recently at Fall State, we had a council of chapter presidents. And so there's like the presidents of each chapter around NorCal. So we were discussing legislation to add to the JSA constitution, which is basically like our set of rules. And so part of it was making it so that if the governor, which is like basically our top dog, like our president of our NorCal, if they veto a bill that's proposed to our constitution, that there should be a 2/3 vote of our COCP in our Senate, which is like our Senate and House basically. And so people were discussing, should we do this or should we not? Because like if you look at the US government, yeah, they have a 2/3, but there's still a discussion of, do we want to have this or is this a good idea? So while it does teach about how the US government works, at the same time, there's like a dialogue promoted of like, what is the best way? Is the way the US government does it correct? What are some other ways that we can go about basically running our government and things like that?
Wonderful. That makes me very happy. Because you're right. I mean, there are a lot of things that within our government that have just been in place for so many years, some centuries, some decades, that it really takes some effort to think outside the box and think, well, maybe this worked at one point, but is it still working? And can it be changed? But the first step in that is to really dream about how it could be different. And fresh perspectives like your alls who are, coming into it and just learning about it. I bet you all have lots of ideas about how it could change and be better. So I'm glad that those dialogues are happening. I want to open it up to the rest of the group and see if anybody has any questions. You can either raise your hand like this or use your raise your hand function in your reactions. And yes, Judy, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I know school system. Excuse me, it's late at night. School systems are different throughout the country, and I'm actually in California, and you are in California. But in your school district, is civics, the teaching of civics required as a graduating? Do you know, or do they even teach civics anymore? Civics is the study of our U.S. government. And when I went to college and high school, it was required as a subject.
Yeah, I believe that at Dublin High School, which is where all four of us attend,
Yeah.
It is required as civics is required, or we can take another class which is more advanced called AP, government and politics. But yeah, right now, all seniors are required to learn about our United States political system in some way.
Yeah, that's good news, because I don't think that's the case throughout the country, which is problematic when we want to get youth involved in our political discourse and certainly our system. And then the other thing is, I feel a little bit like myself. I'm older, and I feel a little bit like our country has outgrown our government, in the sense that a lot of our government was formulated and legislated 100, 150 years ago or more. And that the way the world is accelerating in terms of technology, communication, interaction, social media, etc., that there could be many innovations that could be applied to our government that are in social, that maybe rest in a different domain of social media and all the technology that's evolved in the last 20 to 30 years. Do you see that, and do you all talk about that? Because I think some of the models of social media could be so easily transferred to our Congress and our Senate and state legislations, the like.
So specifically in reference to social media, we've definitely talked about things like technology advancing and like how do you want to address that in society, like in our meetings. But in terms of like the idea that you said about our country outgrowing our system, how like a lot of our like fundamental things that like a US government runs on was written like 100 like plus years ago, and how a lot of it maybe doesn't even fit like the America of today. Just last weekend at Fall State, one of the topics was the constitutional amendment process should be changed. And so people were like throwing out ideas like maybe there should be like a popular vote for like a constitutional amendment, like people get to vote as like part of that process. Like people were basically suggesting these changes to like fundamental aspects of the system. So I think we definitely do discuss in a lot of ways how we could change like some fundamental things about the US government. And yeah.
That makes me very helpful, helpful and hopeful. Yeah, that would be helpful. And I'm very hopeful to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about the two-party system, I mentioned this earlier, that, in any states that are have a closed primary, where you can only vote in the primary that you're registered to, there's only a Democratic and a Republican primary. There is no independent primary. Yeah. So if you live in a state with a closed primary and you're registered independent, you don't get to vote in the primary. Yeah. So something just as simple as opening up the primaries so that it restricts so many people that may want to participate at that level of our democracy. They're definitely, and personally, I think they should make, president just 6 years in one term, so that they're never running for re-election, so that they don't have to be beholden. And there's, in the House having to run every 2 years, they're constantly raising money. They're always thinking about re-elect. They're never really focused on governing. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some things that could change that would just be more befitting with the times for sure. Anybody else got any other questions? Yes, DJ, I see your finger up.
Yeah, I actually have like a whole bunch of questions, so I'm going to limit it. I'm going to try to keep it short. Yeah, this is pretty exciting for me because my background is education and I love innovation. I love like Web3, like how is Web3 going to fit into government? You guys do the Model UN, Model Congress. I know about those things. Those things are really awesome. A lot of famous people have been in your organization. A lot of people go on to government. So all of that's just really awesome. And you guys are amazing, each one of you. I love the way you speak. I love the way you articulate yourselves. I love the way that you're positioning yourselves as important beings in our world, because you are. You matter. And I really have a lot of respect for you coming here and talking to us. You don't even know us and you think, oh, who are these people? But it's really wonderful to have you. And so my last question or my last comment really is about this whole notion of self-governing and how that really comes out for you as individuals. And what is the cost of all of this? And is the cost prohibitive? And what would happen if somebody was interested in joining this organization and just could not afford it? Do you have some kind of self-governing mechanism that allows people who can't afford it inside your organization?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things in terms of like on specifically our club side, like within our school, we can obviously do fundraising and things like that. And we have like, I think we have some money like from past fundraising that we can spend for like particular like club members who cannot afford convention and things like that. But on top of that, JSA themselves offers scholarships for people who are not, who don't have enough financial backing basically to attend convention. So if you do have those cases of people who can't afford it, they can apply and they can get, you know, heavy discounts so that they can afford to go convention and have the same experience that everyone else can.
Wow, that's really a great answer. That's just amazing. It's like you're already ready for government. That was really good.
Thank you.
No, you guys are fantastic. So what about Web3? What do you think about it? What do you think about crypto and blockchain and this whole new way, decentralized, organized, decentralized and like the whole idea of being safe and being private and being anonymous? How do you think that's going to change our world?
I think we talk a lot about like these different technological advancements and stuff like that. Often it is, part of it is like a positive thing. Obviously innovation and stuff, it makes, you know, society more efficient and it allows like a plethora of possibilities to come up, but also there's definitely a heavy negative side that you have to consider, like things like social media and things like targeting, sort of like you could say like online echo chambers that form, you know, with like algorithms and things like that, how people have the same content, same ideas basically recommended to them over and over, rather than like new things. It can keep people like boxed into different groups. Yeah, but I think, I mean, opinions on this type of stuff is very diverse. I mean, that's kind of the point of JSA. It's that like to promote that diversity of ideas. If anyone else here from JSA wants to speak on what they think, they're welcome to. But it's different people have different opinions, which is kind of like the point of JSA.
So yeah, I'll talk on it. So Web3 is like the new generation for web stuff, right? Like technologies and stuff. I personally think that I feel like our society is a little too focused on all the social media and all this stuff that we're literally disconnecting ourselves from the real world. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right direction for society. Of course, there's positives and there's negatives, but overall, yeah, the positives do outweigh the negatives in terms of efficiency, but our society is not all efficiency based. There's also emotions, real people and stuff. And I feel like it's really like taking the whole emotional container, like people are turning into literal mindless robots with all this social media. Like if you see screen times, they go up like 5, 6, 7 hours, and I'm even susceptible. All the JSON members are susceptible too. Like it's completely like disconnecting us from society. And I think that's a problem, but it is also efficient. So it just there's like a thin line that you can walk across. So I think it's right. I think it's too far con and like too little positive in terms of us as individuals. So that's what I think on it.
Anyone else want to weigh in on that?
I was going to ask what you all think of Elon Musk and what he's doing to Twitter right now.
I think the majority of us, I mean, I don't want to speak for people, obviously, just like talking to people about the thing, I think majority of us like don't like what Elon Musk has done, particularly with like workers' rights and like overtime and like the mass layoffs and all that stuff. I think that comes with us being like not only younger, but particularly like from the Bay Area, we're kind of cognizant of like these sort of social and like economic condition type things. So we like notice these things. But yeah, that's what I think. I mean, if someone else wants to chime in with their opinion, I think we mostly agree on it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, he is like a billionaire and they're gonna do what they want to do, which is to make money and gain more power, right? But I also, like Abraham said, I disagree with what he's been doing with like the mass layoffs and stuff. Like he essentially just like came into power at Twitter and then he just like stripped a bunch of people from their jobs. And I don't think that's right just because like he wants more power. And I mean, he is going to do that because he is a billionaire, but I don't think that's right. Yeah.
And it's interesting to me, the people that he's laying off are the ones that were working in the areas of, you know, misinformation and trying to make sure that what was put out on the platform was truthful. I'm curious if you all at the level of the high school level and maybe at the university level, if you've been around any university campuses and talking to folks, if you know, those of us who watch entirely too much television about the elections and about our democracy, you know, we keep hearing that phrase, democracy is hanging in the balance. How do you all respond to that statement? Do you feel it to be true? Are you more hopeful than maybe some of us in some of the older generations? I'm curious what your take on it is.
Honestly, that topic specifically, I don't think we've discussed it that much. I think it is a really good topic to discuss. Personally, I think that I can't predict the future, but really I think it's about what is normalized in like our political discourse and our political environment, you know, certain behaviors, certain things like, you know, eliminating discourse, sort of censorship, like different things like that, like kind of occultism. Like there are certain like red flags that I think if we normalize like one by one, it may lead to a degradation of our democracy. So I think we need to, I'm not sure if democracy will survive or not, but I think if we want it to, we need to be like vigilant of these types of red flags, and we need to make sure that we're not allowing people to facilitate a situation in which democracy is eroded.
Thank you. Any of our other speakers have it? Sorry, Judy, go ahead.
I just want to say it's very gratifying to hear you reinforce your support for democracy, because sometimes, I mean, as an older adult, I'm not quite sure about where everybody is. And so that's just a reassuring statement you just made. Thank you.
There are those that would say that we haven't even actually, that we actually don't function as a true democracy yet, you know, that we're, that saying we're a democracy is actually almost an aspirational statement.
Right.
Yeah. Certainly we don't want to slip into fascism. That's something that we would all like to avoid. I think I could safely say this group would be in favor of not supporting fascism. But yeah. I mean, I think I wonder sometimes if we get so stuck in worrying about keeping things the status quo that we don't open ourselves up to the idea that change, you know, I'm in no way supporting fascism. I'm just saying that, you know, that there are very significant systems within our government that don't really work. They maybe have never worked, or they've worked for only one specific segment of the population and never, you know, the rest of the people weren't even thought about when the systems were put into place. And so I wonder, I'm curious about how we find that middle ground, how we find that openness to dream about how our system could change and how it could be better and better supporting of, you know, of the electorate and the citizens that we see now versus how it was when it was first built. Hold on to the ideals of what we want to see, but yet rework it into something that's more functional. I don't know. Anybody else have any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things. I've actually, as a parent, have chaperoned these conventions for JSA for the past 5 years. 3 years for my older son Matt, and last year and this year for Abraham and his buddies. And I have to tell you, it just gives me a lot of hope for the future when I see these kids and their element. And they really, in these debates and what they call thought talks, where they sit in a circle and discuss, exchange thoughts basically on certain topics and issues, that mainly civic issues. And it's just a pleasure to see these kids do a deep dive into really complicated issues, and they really do a lot of research, and they get into really deep, meaningful conversation about these things, all these issues. And so that just gives me hope for the future. I just wish that we could replicate this model of JSA a little bit more, which is why for the Department of Peace Building, one of my favorite elements that I didn't get to speak about earlier is education and training. And I think if we do a lot more of that, similar to JSA, that would could change the trajectory of the future, you know, in terms of democracy. Because I think ignorance, in my opinion, is basically one of the core reasons for a lot of societal ills. And so wherever you shed light, darkness goes away on its own. And I'm a firm believer of that. And JSA is sort of like the Peace Alliance is run by public donations, and it doesn't have a huge budget, but if there is government resources to expand education like that. And to Judy's point, you were mentioning, Judy, that civic education, yes, our district definitely has that for seniors. It's a requirement, but it is one semester. In my opinion, it should be a year-long course, but at least it's better than nothing. We will take that. But it should definitely be at least a full year, 2 semester long course. But at this point, it's just 1 semester that seniors are required to take. And more of that needs to happen, where kids exchange ideas and just become responsible future adults. So it's good to see. Whenever I go to these conventions, we went last weekend to one of them. It just gives me hope for the future. Just wanted to share that with you guys.
What kind of world would we have if all high schoolers had to take civics all 4 years, you know, and each year would, Abraham's shaking his head. No, I don't want to do that for 4 years. But I mean, just imagine, you know, we make high schoolers take foreign languages, and which is good too, and important too.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
you know, what an incredible thing. You know, I think that'll be a measure of how serious we are as a society.
Exactly.
To educate our electorate is to make sure the kids are educated, you know, and
exactly. Yeah, because I think apathy starts from that age. If you're apathetic towards issues that impact you and your community at that age, you kind of carry that as an adult, you know, as a citizen, as, you know, when you're an adult. And when you eliminate apathy at that level, at this age, as young as they are, you know, you can imagine what the future will hold. So that gives me hope.
Getting back to that house metaphor, it's the foundation, right?
Yes,
you know, we got to make a good foundation. Liz, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I would just like to say, Amina, I would love to stay in touch with you and connect with you about this. I'm an educator and a mother of 2 sons who are not much older,
Awesome.
you know, than you guys here. And I think strategizing and education is really the key. And yeah, I'm so hopeful here. I always tell people I'm hopeful because I know so many people in your age range, and my experience is that you are less apathetic and more empathetic than any generation I've ever worked with. And so I'm really excited, and I love that you guys are the last formal speakers of the evening, because one of the things that is really most exciting to me in terms of these alliance is really taking the energy from an event like this and a lot of the work that everyone's been doing and jump into how do we strengthen alliances, exactly what you said, right? And connect all the people who spoke today, learn from one another, support one another's work. And I'm really excited about that. So I'll definitely be in touch, Amina, and all of the DOP people to really talk about strategizing and strengthening alliances.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you, Liz. Absolutely. Yes, please reach out. Yeah, I would like to connect with you as well. And I'll share my experience, at least in the past 5 years, with both of my boys. And honestly, each one of these kids that are on the panel and some of the other members, it's just so impressive to see their growth. From the time they were freshmen, they were a little bit shy, and some of them, you know, I've seen a significant growth between the first convention they went to the last one. Each one of them participated in every single topic, and I was so proud of them. So good job, you guys.
For the first couple. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm curious about how many chapters. Do you all know how many chapters are across it's nationwide, right?
Yes, it is nationwide.
Yeah.
So across the nation, honestly, it was a complete guess in the dark. It was probably about 100. I'm not even sure.
Well, I think when the JSA.org has a map that shows a map of every single state, and typically for a larger state like California is broken out in 2. So we have Southern California, and then our region is Northern California. So, but I'm not sure if with other states it's split in 2, but you basically in the JSA.org, when you go there, they have a map that shows.
Kashyap and Vignesh just dropped the 400 chapters.
There you go.
That's amazing.
I have a question that haunts me, and I'd love to pose it to you all. And that is that we talk a lot at our dinner table about, well, we have friends, next door neighbors we've gotten very close to, and they have high school boys. And we talk a lot about a year of service. So some kind of a federal bill that would require everyone who graduates from high school to do a year of service, not necessarily the military, but to either choose to be in AmeriCorps, the Peace Corps, work for the National Park Service. You'd have a choice or selection of things but that every youth that graduates in the country would dedicate 1 year of service to their country in, as I shared, multiple ways. I'm just curious what your reaction to that is.
Honestly, I think that's an amazing idea. And I think that that's a lot of what JSA kind of embodies. Like, for example, just at this Falls Day we had this weekend, we had a political fair block, which is basically just like pretty much all about that kind of service stuff. So like, for example, there was like a pre-registering to vote or register if you're already 18. at the convention, there was like multiple organizations that showed up for like activism and things that ways that students can get involved. So like, for example, there was a BAYCS, which I think it stands for Bay Area Youth Climate Summit. And so it's basically a organization in which students come together and each make their own climate action plan, similar to what I'm doing with the recycling bins. Basically, it's something, a little step to help combat climate change. So I think that the idea that you mentioned about like having 1 year service, not only is it just something that I think JSA, that kind of attitude that it encourages, I also just think that's a great idea in general, because like coming back to the idea of political apathy, it's about getting people involved and getting people sort of caring about being part of the actual system. Yeah, that governs them, because it's a democracy, you know, each person's got to play their part.
Yeah.
And well said. Well said.
Oh.
Nancy.
So, Abraham, did I hear a rumor that it's your birthday, or is it your brother's birthday?
That was my brother's birthday. My birthday coincidentally was like about 2 weeks ago, but today's my brother's birthday.
Well, then happy birthday to both of you. And
Yeah.
I'm sure I know your mom's very proud of you and all of your friends here. And I'm sure your community is, and obviously we all are. So it is really encouraging and hopeful to see students who are engaged. So thank you
so
all.
much.
Thank you.
Liz, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one last thought that I'm thinking about you, and probably because I'm looking through my mother's lens. But one of the things that made me most proud, I have a 20-year-old son, and when he was 15, we had an interesting conversation, and those of you who are Facebook friends with me know it, but I'd love to share it. Because they introduced me to a comic book world I would probably not have been involved in if it weren't for them. But my younger son has always loved Batman. It's his favorite person, Batman. And it used to bother me because I do so much piecework, and Batman is so very dark, you know? And we were going for a walk, and I asked him, why Batman? And at 15, and he's reminding me so much of you guys, he said, Mom, Batman teaches me to grapple with moral complexity. And I looked at him, and he said, Harry Potter does the right thing. Superman does the right thing. Batman grapples with moral complexity. I don't always agree with what he does, but he teaches me how to make complex moral decisions. And I loved that. And I thought they're going to be fine. You know, like
Only your son would say that.
No, but it's not only right, because I'm looking
I
at
know,
these people, and I'm going to tie it to something else that those of us who are long-term members of the Peace Alliance know. There's something I never forgot. Years ago in Gainesville, we did like a peace building training, and Judy, I think you were there, right, with Kai Brand Jacobson. Were you at that one?
Yes. Yeah.
And he said something really powerful, and I'm going to offer this. I have really studied he said the fastest way to change the world is to change the stories we tell, right? Mm-hmm. But he was very specific. He said we need new cosmology, new origin stories. Mm-hmm. And not that long ago, like I'm trying to catch up to speed with the Marvel world and the DC world and all that. And I was asking one of my sons recently, and I didn't put it together till just now that I'm thinking. And I asked him, what's the origin story of that character? And he said, in which universe? Right? And I see you guys laughing, right? And I understood like that those stories create this complex thinking and complex world that young people are so used to doing and delving in, and how important that is. And I just love to see all of you talking about the degradation of democracy, and this really complex, when you mentioned it, Amina, right? Seeing them get into really deep, complex issues and being able to argue them or discuss them thoughtfully. I'm just so happy to and excited to have been a part of your present, or to have been to participate in hearing your presentation. It's so exciting to me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for
that.
Yeah. Yes.
So we're ending the night with hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Action.
Yeah.
And action. Hope and action.
Hope and action. Right.
Yeah.
Hope with feet. You know, it's moving.
That's right.
Yeah. We've kept you all a little bit longer than we anticipated. We could probably ask you questions all night long, but I know that you have different celebrations and things to go do, maybe some homework. And so without any other pressing questions, I think we'll just say a very grateful thank you to all four of our presenters. And thank you, Amina, for engaging me in that dialogue and finding out about JSA. And, and you were the architect of all of this to have them come and speak tonight. So, so thank you so much for joining us. And we cannot wait to see where your stars begin to shine even further as you move out into the world. It's very exciting. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Deanne. And thanks, everyone. Always a pleasure to talk with you guys and see you.
Yep.
Honestly, yeah, thank you guys. It's a pleasure for me, and I think all of us, honestly, just because this is such a rare opportunity to be able to speak like this in like this sort of webinar style. So thank you for giving us this opportunity. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
It looked like applause to me from Mike, I think.
Oh, Mike.
I think Mike was applauding.
Oh, he was applauding. Okay.
I think.
Mike, if you want to come off mute, if you have a question. He says, yes, that was awesome. Okay. So I guess he's still staying on mute. Well, we will let you guys go. For the rest of you, we are still going to be in this space for another hour and a half. So please feel free to hang around. But if you need to go, I understand that too. So I'm going to stop the recording.